Hello and thanks for joining me for another video. This week I'm over at Nercwys for a quick walk and to see what wildlife we can find. There are a couple of plants that always greet me at the entrance to Nercwys from where I park my car, past a couple of houses that are very nice gardens. And a couple of those plants in those gardens have escaped. One of them, very small, grows all over the wall. It's tiny, tiny leaves like duckweed leaves. And if you want to know what it's called, well, you can mind your own business. That's what it's called, mind your own business. It's a non-native plant. It's usually used in the horticultural world, in greenhouses or in gardens where you've got somewhere dark, damp, kind of want to grow something to green it up. And it's just wonderful looking. When you see it up close, tiny leaves with flowers that look like an upturned octopus with 4 tentacles, but they're just a few millimeters in size. It's really, really small, this plant. It's not native, but it kind of does its own thing, mainly keeping to areas where lots of our native plants don't like growing, so it doesn't come into direct conflict yet with many things, mainly a southern kind of species in the UK. It is spreading north though. And the other plant is Pink Sorrel, which if you look at it, you would definitely go, this is sorrel. It looks exactly like our wood sorrel in terms of the shape of the kind of leaves, looking like shamrock, but the flowers are this wonderful, vibrant pink, and you'd go, that doesn't look native. It's not, it's South American. But it is a typical oxalis, the wood sorrel kind of family. And normally in North Wales, I see it in coastal areas, close to the beach, you know, places like that. That's the kind of places where it's often planted in gardens. A bit more inland here and a little bit higher up, it's a bit more unusual, but they don't often persist. They kind of last a few years, then seem to die back. They don't do much spreading, so it's a bit of a novelty. It's also got a rust fungus on it, which is interesting. And I think off the top of my head, I don't think the rust fungus is native, because I think it's quite host specific, which means it can't, if the plant's not native, then the rust fungus can't be either. So there's 2 absolutely cracking, wonderful little non-native flowers to start our walk. And one of the reasons for bringing you here is it's been a very busy week for me, and I haven't been able to get out to the areas I wanted to this week to do some filming. And Nercwys is always great for me because it's 10 minutes away from where I live. There's lots of interesting wildlife, some nice habitat, some interesting birds and things. But yeah, next week's going to be really, really busy, so I can't really get out this week and go here, there and everywhere to go filming. So yeah, I'll talk more about filming next week later on, but yeah, let's get cracking, see what we can find. One of the plants that's out in flowering force at this time of the year is buttercup. I passed some load of fields on the way in, absolutely golden with the amount of buttercups. And I'm not the only one who's enjoying all the buttercups. There's lots of beetles enjoying them as well, including Byturus ochraceus. It's a close relative to a beetle called the raspberry beetle, which is a bit of a pest species. If you grow raspberries in the garden, the larvae of this beetle, they eat raspberries. This one doesn't. It's the larvae of this likes another plant called wood avens. So it kind of keeps them out of the kind of gardener's way, if that makes sense. And there's loads of them. As adults, they're interested in pollen. So you frequently find 15, 20 of them in a single flower, feeding on the pollen, and then the larvae feed on different plants when they emerge. And they're absolutely adorable to watch. Like, I'm not the biggest beetle fan, but watching these, they're fantastic. They're quite charismatic. They're kind of scrambling all over each other, trying to get to all the pollen they can. They're just a delightful little thing to watch. Something that you could almost totally take for granted because they're so small, like 15 or 20 of these beetles in a single buttercup, and buttercups are not the biggest flower by any stretch of the imagination. So as I'm going along here, I'm just keeping an eye out. They're pretty obvious. It's not something you have to get on your hands and knees to look for. You just see these kind of very dark centers to these buttercups where they're filled with these beetles. So yeah, I'm really pleased that they're here because I don't think I've noticed them before, which either means that I don't come walking here at this time of the year, which I do, or they've kind of moved into the area, or whatever reason. I've not seen them here before. I've seen the beetles before, but not here. So yeah, nice to see and nice to add a little record of them as well. So yeah, going to spend a bit of time with them, watch them clamber all over each other, and then yeah, we'll have a little walk on and see what else we can find. Oh, I'm a very happy boy. So when I plan these videos, I kind of have a loose idea of the species that I want to find, want to film. And then what I really love is the fact that what I think we're going to find and film, nature comes along and says, what about this? What about this? And may I present you the female Emperor Moth. Isn't she beautiful? She's one of the most stunning moths we have. And what I find the most fascinating with this moth is it almost shouldn't work as a species in that the female rests during the day and flies at night. The male flies during the day and rests at night. And you kind of think, okay, this isn't going to work. If you're wanting to make more emperor moths, not a good solution. But what she's doing just by resting here during the day, she's releasing a pheromone which will attract the other males. And they'll be coming, you know, come and find her, mate with her. And in recent years, we've been able to replicate these pheromones. And we can go into areas and where we want to survey or work out if these moths are there, we can put these pheromone lures and within minutes, the male moths will be around. It only allows us to monitor male moths because only the male moths are attracted to the pheromone lure. So yeah, I'm surprised there's no males hanging about because, you know, she's very, very obvious. It's one of those things where the amount of times I see on social media, people like, I'm walking over the moors and I've just seen this. And you think, wow, I've never seen a female emperor moth out like that. You know, I've seen them I get them sometimes in the moth trap when I'm out and about. And the males I see quite regularly, but the females, when they're just sat like this, they are absolutely wonderful. Heather's one of their favourite plants. They love heather. You get the males, which are more orangey, flying over heather moorland in early spring, and they look like butterflies. They're very fast, orangey, direct flying, butterfly-looking things. But if you're up on the moors, you're unlikely to be getting butterflies up there that are fast, direct in spring. It's more likely to be the male emperor moth. And it's just, oh, glorious. She's so cuddly and oh, she's wonderful. I'm so chuffed with this, really, really chuffed. Yeah, and goes to show that no matter how much planning I do, I have no control over this. At the end of the day, nature writes the script and I'm just kind of here just to go along for the ride. So yeah, female emperor moth, it's going to take some beating, I'm afraid. I've just had 2 species of butterfly in quick succession, and the first one really does need a name change. So it's called Wall, and it's called Wall because it likes walls. You get them on dry stone walls, you know, places where there's rock. It can sun itself and you can keep warm. Its old name's Wall Brown, and I prefer that because I'm already eccentric enough. I don't need people coming up to me and kind of asking, what are you looking at? And you just go, just a wall, you know. Just call it Wall Brown, it'd be far more, you know, far better in my opinion. It looks like a fritillary. So when I first saw it, I thought, ooh, fritillary, because you've got this beautiful orange and brown kind of coloration that you often associate more with fritillaries. But then it lands and holds its wings partially open. It often kind of teases you and doesn't hold them fully out. And then after that, it closes them quickly and they almost become invisible at that point because they're so well camouflaged. There's a species though that's undergone a severe decline in recent years. We're not exactly sure why. It's kind of retreated from some areas and it's kind of increased a little bit in others, but it suggests there's been a real shift in kind of its distribution, which probably isn't a good sign. But it's lovely to see because it's not a species I see very often up here. The other species though knocking about is small copper, which is much smaller as its name suggests, and there's been a very showy one on some kind of the last of the wood forget-me-nots. And it's been kind of feeding around and it's also found a mate, which is nice to see because it's always good to confirm butterflies are breeding in an area. It's nice to know if they're there, but it's also nice to confirm, yes, they're breeding here, they're being successful, etc. So yeah, I was kind of getting a little bit of footage of them making more small coppers, which is probably quite seedy when you think about it, really. It's basically pornography with wildlife. But hey-ho, give the people what they want to see. That's what people want to see. Small coppers mating. And yeah, so that's lovely to see. So butterflies have a bit of a mixed bag for me this year. Holly blues in the garden, absolutely loads of them. Everywhere I've been going, seen holly blues, but other species, small tortoiseshell and peacocks, seem to be much fewer than what I'd expect at this time of the year, or up to this time of the year, I should say. So yeah, well, we'll hold judgment till the end of the year on butterflies, because who knows what could happen in the second half. But yeah, after seeing that emperor moth though, I'm definitely more of a moth man than a butterfly guy, but You can make up your mind which one you prefer. I first came to Nercwys long before I even moved here. One of my best mates, Dave, who's a fabulous birder, he brought me here looking for nightjar. And at that time, the nightjar disappeared. Years before that, he used to come here looking for nightjar and find them. And then when he brought me years ago, they weren't here anymore. And then Natural Resources Wales, they clear-felled the area in front of us. Biggish area. It's a relatively small forest, but it was a biggish area that they clear-felled. And that's perfect habitat for where nightjar like to nest. So in the subsequent years, when I moved over here, the nightjar returned. I had some fabulous encounters with them. But obviously the trees are getting bigger and bigger, and eventually it's going to be unsuitable habitat for nightjar nesting. They can nest in areas where there's some large trees, but in this site, it's not ideal for them as the trees get bigger. There's lots of other areas nearby where they do nest, so it's not like that's it, they'll disappear. They just kind of move around. They can be quite nomadic, nightjar. But if you do want to come in an evening, there's still 1 or 2 pairs knocking about. If you do come, lots of midge repellent and things like that. You will be eaten alive. I'm not going to hang about for nightjar tonight. We'll probably do a video later in the year with nightjar, or try to do it. The operative word. They can be absolutely wonderful, and they can be an absolute pain to work with at times, nightjar. There was another bird I was hoping to see on this walk, tree pipit, because this is the first year where I think I'm going to have to say tree pipit are not nesting in Nercwys. Either I'm mistiming all of my walks and not encountering any birds, or they're just not here. Normally along this path, I encounter tree pipits regularly. Haven't heard one at all this spring, which is quite alarming. And a few of my other birding mates have said the same thing, which seems like a bad year for tree pipit. There are other birds about though. There's very good in this wood for tawny owls if you come late on at night, but also crossbill, plenty of those flying over, willow warblers, chiff chaff, some garden warblers as well. It's a really good place for birds. But if you do come for nightjar, like I say, lots of midge repellent. I'm going to be filming lots in the next month or so. I'm going to do a new series that I'm filming next week, which I'll tell you more about during the week or whenever. I'll do a social media post about it. But for those of you that mentioned that you want to see me out in the mountains and doing some bigger walks, then good news. We're going to be doing some of those in June as well, up in the mountains of Eryri. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this little outing, just a little smash and grab visit to kind of come and see some of the wildlife in Nercwys. That female Emperor Moth though, she is a stunner. She's the star of all the videos this year so far. So yeah, hopefully we'll trump that at some point in the year, but yeah, she was gorgeous. If you've enjoyed this, if you can like and subscribe, it will help the channel out, and I shall see you soon for the next one. Bye for now.